Have you ever arrived at Disney World or Disneyland, bags packed for a perfect day, only to be stopped at security and told your stroller, chair, or camera gear can't come in? In 2026, that's happening to more guests than ever, as Disney tightened its global park rules across Walt Disney World, Disneyland Resort, and beyond. What used to be minor suggestions, oversized wagons, folding seats, even certain costumes, are now firm bans, enforced at every gate with metal detectors and bag checks. This isn't hype. It's straight from Disney's updated property policies, reflecting a new era of crowd control and safety. In this video, you'll learn the 10 things banned at Disney parks in 2026, why they matter, and how to plan around them before your trip turns into a hassle. Let's count them down from number 10. Number 10, folding chairs and personal seating. On paper, bringing a small folding chair for parades and fireworks sounds practical, especially when you're facing hours of standing in crowded streets. But in 2026, Disney made it very clear, folding chairs and similar personal seating are not allowed inside the parks. This includes compact camping chairs, collapsible stools, and other easy carry seating that many guests use to rely on for long waits. From Disney's perspective, the official rules frame this as a safety and operations issue. Walkways must remain clear, emergency routes can't be blocked, and cast members need to maintain smooth crowd flow during shows and nighttime spectaculars. A handful of portable chairs may seem harmless, but multiplied across thousands of guests, they quickly become obstacles that slow down evacuations and create tripping hazards. So in 2026, this moved from a discouraged behavior to a firm ban. If it looks like a folding chair or personal seat, security can send you back to your car before you ever scan your ticket. Number 9, oversized strollers and stroller wagons. Next on the list, those giant stroller wagons that became social media favorites for tackling Disney with multiple kids. For years, these rolling minibuses blurred the line between stroller and wagon, until Disney drew a hard line. Strollers must fit within specific dimensions, and wagons and stroller-style pull carts are banned completely. The official policy sets maximum sizes, 31 inches wide and 52 inches long, and explicitly bans any wagon or stroller that's pulled instead of pushed, or that functions like a wagon even if it's marketed as a stroller. The reasoning is simple. Oversized equipment clogs narrow pathways, complicates boarding at transportation hubs, and becomes dangerous in dense crowds when guests pull heavy loads behind them. You might think, oh, if it fits through the gate, why should Disney care? The answer is that this isn't just about entrances, it's about what happens when thousands of these units are jammed into fireworks viewing areas or parked outside popular rides. Cast members have reported blocked exits, improvised walls of wagons, and even guests tripping over low, heavy pull handles. So by 2026, the company decided the safest stroller is a smaller one. Number 8, drones and remote control devices. A few years ago, consumer drones felt like an exciting way to capture sweeping aerial shots of castles and fireworks. At Disney, they're now firmly in the absolutely not category. Disney's property rules explicitly ban drones, remote control toys, and similar devices across their parks. And in 2026, that enforcement tightened further as more guests tried to bring in portable quadcopters and RC gear. The official rationale is safety and airspace control. Drones can collide with attractions, fall into crowds, interfere with Disney's own show hardware, and raise serious privacy concerns for other guests who did not consent to being filmed from above. Remote control cars and similar devices create tripping hazards and disrupt carefully choreographed crowd patterns, especially in tight, Zeus-themed areas where walkways are already narrow. On top of that, Disney has invested heavily in its own proprietary show drones and special effects technology, protected by patents and strict FAA agreements in the US. Allowing guests to operate their own devices in the same environment would undermine safety plans and liability protections. The result, if security spots a drone case or RC controller in your bag in 2026, it's not coming through the gates with you. Number 7, selfie sticks and extension poles. Selfie sticks had a very short, very intense life inside theme parks, and at Disney that life is completely over. As of 2026, selfie sticks and handheld extension poles for cameras or mobile devices are banned inside Disney parks worldwide, with rules that are explicitly spelled out on official sites and reiterated by cast members at security. Disney's stated concern is safety. Selfie sticks extend into ride paths, can be raised above crowds and block sightlines, and have caused ride stoppages when pulled out mid-attraction. Reports over the years documented cases where rides had to be halted because guests held out a stick on a coaster or dark ride, creating a hazard for both people and equipment. You might think, I'll just use it for parades. Not on rides, so I'm fine. But that's exactly the problem. Security and ride operators cannot track individual intentions in a sea of people, and enforcing a conditional rule proved almost impossible. So Disney went for a blanket ban. No selfie sticks, no extension poles, no exceptions, whether you're at the castle hub or in a quiet corner of the park. Number 6. Large filming rigs and unstable camera setups. Disney parks welcome cameras and phones, and content creators are everywhere. But in 2026, what's not welcome anymore are large, intrusive filming rigs that turn a vacation into a moving film shoot. While you won't find every possible configuration listed line by line, Disney's rules let security restrict tripods, monopods, gimbals, and other stabilized gear that either extend too far or can't fit in a standard-sized backpack. The official guidelines limit tripods and stands to those that fold down small and don't extend over 6 feet. And they must be used in ways that don't block walkways or create tripping hazards. In practice, that means big shoulder rigs, extended monopods weaving through crowds, and sprawling live stream setups with dangling cables are likely to be stopped or asked to leave. You might assume that as long as you're not a news crew, you're safe. But Disney's policies focus on impact, not intent. If your gear obstructs views, occupies too much space, or makes other guests uncomfortable, cast members have the authority to intervene, even if your setup is technically just a personal camera. In 2026, filming is still welcome, but filming that turns a walkway into a studio is not. Number 5. Loose ice and unmanaged coolers. The idea of bringing a cooler loaded with loose ice used to be a classic budget hack. Keep drinks cold all day. Avoid paying park prices. Today, Disney's rules have moved firmly against that approach. Loose ice is not allowed in coolers or bags at many Disney parks, and guests are encouraged to use reusable ice packs instead. The official explanation is surprisingly practical. Loose ice melts quickly, creates puddles that are slip hazards, and makes it harder and messier for security to inspect bags. Solid ice packs are easier to move around during bag checks, don't spill across security tables, and create less water damage on walkways and attraction queues. This may sound minor compared to bans on drones or weapons, but it changes how budget-minded families plan their park days. If you show up in 2026 with a large cooler packed with loose ice, security can require you to dump it or go back to your car before you're allowed in. The message is clear. Disney will allow outside food within limits, but it wants that food to arrive in a controlled, low-risk form. Number 4. Smoking and vaping inside the parks. One of the most significant behavior bans Disney has expanded is smoking and vaping inside its domestic parks. In 2026, smoking areas are no longer present inside the US theme parks, water parks, or the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex. Guests who smoke or vape are directed to designated areas outside the gates or at specific locations in resort and shopping districts. The official policy frames this as part of a broader health, comfort, and guest experience strategy. Secondhand smoke, lingering vape clouds, and cigarette litter are completely at odds with Disney's carefully maintained clean, family-friendly atmosphere. Removing smoking areas from inside the parks eliminates those conflicts, simplifies crowd management, and reduces complaints from non-smoking guests in cramped queues and viewing areas. You might argue, if there's a smoking corner far from the rides, what's the harm? But the company's move reflects how difficult it is to fully contain odors and crowds in dense, themed spaces, especially when wind and walkway design pulls smells into nearby attractions. By 2026, the compromise is simple but strict. You can still smoke or vape on Disney property, but you can't do it inside the parks themselves. Number 3. Toys and props that look like weapons. Weapons have been banned at Disney for decades, but in 2026, the focus on realistic-looking toy weapons is sharper than ever. Official rules prohibit firearms, ammunition, knives, and weapons of any kind, plus objects or toys that appear to be firearms or weapons, even if they're clearly plastic or intended as costumes. That includes toy guns, realistic water pistols, and detailed replicas that might alarm other guests or security. This is a sensitive area for a company that also sells fantasy weapons like lightsabers and pirate swords inside its own parks. The difference, according to Disney's guidelines, is recognizability. Brightly colored, stylized items tied to well-known stories are treated differently from dark, realistic replicas of modern firearms or blades. You might think, "Non, it's obviously fake. Everyone will know." But in crowded, high-alert environments, cast members and security teams can't assume everyone shares that context. A realistic toy can trigger panic, require a security response, or be misinterpreted in photos and videos. That's why, in 2026, security will tell you to leave that replica weapon, detailed prop gun, or hyper-realistic cosplay blade outside the park, no matter how much it completes your outfit. Number 2. Adult costumes and certain dress styles. Disney encourages themed outfits and Disney bounding, but it draws a very clear line when it comes to full costumes for guests 14 and older. In 2026, costumes and costume masks that could cause you to be mistaken for an official character are banned for most regular park days, with only limited exceptions for specific hard-ticket events. Official dress code rules also restrict clothing with offensive language or graphics, overly revealing outfits, excessively torn garments, and clothing that drags on the ground. Guests with large or face-covering costumes may be subject to additional screening, and tattoos considered objectionable can be grounds for being asked to cover up or leave. You might assume that as long as you're being creative and not causing trouble, Disney won't mind. But the company's core concern is guest confusion and brand control. No one should be able to walk up to a child and be mistaken for an official Disney character who has been trained and vetted. By 2026, the message is firm. Dress up in a way that shows your fandom, but do it through color schemes and accessories, not full costumes and masks. Number 1. Anything security deems unsafe, disruptive, or inconsistent with the experience. The most powerful ban at Disney in 2026 isn't a specific item. It's a rule that gives security the final say over almost anything you bring. Disney's property rules reserve the right to deny admission, remove guests, or restrict items that may be harmful, disruptive, or inconsistent with the resort's operations, even if those items aren't explicitly listed on the prohibited items page. In practice, that means your Bluetooth speaker, your extra-large rolling suitcase, your homemade sign, or an unusual gadget might all be stopped, not because they're on a public banned list, but because security decides they create a problem. Guests have reported being turned away for large external speakers, oversized filming rigs, and signs or banners that could block views or be used for unsanctioned protests or commercial activity. This flexible rule is what truly shapes the modern Disney experience. It lets the company respond quickly to new trends, whether that's a viral gadget, a type of apparel, or a behavior, without rewriting the public rulebook every week. For you, it means that even if you study the official list, there's still one final filter: a human being at security, deciding in real time whether your stuff fits Disney's idea of a safe, magical environment. So what can you actually do with all of this information? First, if you're planning a trip, treat Disney's official park rules page as your baseline and check the most recent version close to your visit. Policies can and do change, and dates like 2026 mark. Not a single switch flip, but a series of tightening steps. Stroller size limits clarified, smoking areas moved outside, photography rules enforced more aggressively. Second, pack with intention. Skip folding chairs, wagons, drones, and anything that looks or acts like a weapon, even if it's technically a toy. Keep your filming gear compact and stable. Rely on reusable ice packs instead of loose ice, and plan smoke or vape breaks outside the parks if that's part of your routine. Choose outfits that clearly read as themed clothing rather than full costumes, especially if you're traveling with teens or adults. Finally, remember that the real theme behind all 10 of these bans is control, of safety, of crowd flow, of brand image, and of the overall story Disney wants you to experience from the moment you step on property. You may not agree with every rule, but understanding them before you go can save you from long walks back to the car, uncomfortable confrontations at security, or even being denied entry altogether. If this breakdown helped you understand how Disney parks really operate in 2026, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone planning a trip, and subscribe for more calm, deeply researched looks behind the rules that shape our favorite destinations.